The content of the Tandem Radio program and website is intended for general information purposes only. It's not designed to provide listeners with specific and personal financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or other advice. The views expressed by show hosts, their guests, and callers are their own and should not be construed in any way as opinions of Tandem Radio or the Bridge FM network.
Good morning and welcome to Tandem Radio Live. You guide me with your counsel and afterward you take me into glory, says Psalm 73:24. Welcome to the Good News on Business. We're here each week to teach you, or help you, I should say, or guide you, or support you, or encourage you to realize that God's Word has mention of business as well and wants to talk about your life in every aspect. And His Bible certainly has wisdom in there for business and can help you in your walk in every aspect of what you do. And we're here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you the good news on business. And each week we have a specific theme based on the guest. We bring a guest in who has a business background and can help us to accomplish two things. One is to point you to God's Word in your business, and number two, to leave you something that you can work with Monday morning when you walk into the office, something that you can use that's practical, that's helpful, that'll make a difference in your business. Sometimes that's some inspiration or motivation, and sometimes that's a pure list of things that to do, and sometimes it's something in between, but it's always something that'll help you, and that's our goal here at Tandem Radio, the good news on business. And today we have with us Silvia Caravella, who's the owner and president of Remedy Intelligent Staffing. And our theme of our show is Staffing the Right Fit. And we're going to talk to Silvia in a minute. But let's start with our scriptures for the day. Each week God puts several scriptures on my heart, and sometimes they tie right into what we're talking about. And sometimes I wonder, God, what's the message here? What are you trying to tell us? But they always all come together by the end of the show, and it blows me away how God just weaves it into one nice, neat package. So let's see what He has in store for us today. In Chronicles 2:3, Solomon sent this message to Hiram, king of Tyre. And I'm going to skip to 2:4. Send me therefore a man skilled to work in gold and silver, bronze and iron, and in purple, crimson, and blue yarn, and experience in the art of engraving, to work in Judah and Jerusalem with my skilled workers, whom my father David provided. I think this may be the first example of a staffing company in the Bible, where he called King Hiram, the king of Tyre, to send him some staff. So you never know, that might have been the first call for staffing. Romans 12:6, we have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. And James 5:4, look, the wages you failed to pay the workers who mowed your fields are crying out against you. The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty. Good morning again and welcome. This is your host, Glen Dalakian, and just excited to be here to talk about your business. And we have a special guest in the studio today who just has a staffing business and works with her husband, Silvia Caravella, and she's the owner, president of Remedy Intelligent Staffing. Silvia, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Glenn. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. It's great to have you here. And we're talking about a topic today that I know is important to every business, and especially if you're a business owner, you're constantly wondering how to staff up your business and how to do it right. And I know your company does it right, so we're glad to have you here this morning.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Good. Well, Silvia, let's start with you. Tell our audience a little bit about your background.
Sure. So basically, my background has been in corporate America for the past 12 years. I've been between Morgan Stanley 4 years, and then I was at UBS for 8. And actually, a year ago, I left corporate America because I decided that I needed to do something different with my life. I felt that my life was lacking the balance that it needed, and I felt that I was losing a little bit of my direction, and I need to get back on path. And with the strength that God gave me, I decided that it was time to leave that all behind and take a new path. And my husband and I he also has a corporate background, and we decided, what are the things that we love the most about our corporate jobs? And it was working with clients and helping establish a career path for our teams that we had managed. So we decided staffing would be the best route because it actually lets us do both. You work with clients, and then you work with the associates that you help put them on the right path and help them find jobs and eventually careers.
So you went from corporate America, both of you, and decided to jump into your own business.
Yes. Pretty much. That's what it was.
And you decided to make the career choice of a franchise, right?
Yes, so we purchased a staffing franchise, And, everyone thought we were a little bit crazy. We didn't have a staffing background. We had a corporate background. We had the employer perspective. But staffing is a very specialized, custom business. And, typically people who don't have that HR background don't go into those types of ventures. But, so far, so good. It's been 10 months. We opened in July, was our soft launch. And
good for you.
We've been able to place 150 people on jobs so far.
Wow, that's terrific.
I'm very happy with that.
Good, and placement is what we're talking about. So let's just clarify a little bit. So you got out of corporate, you decided to go into franchising. Was a franchise route, you think, the best route for you?
Absolutely, especially given the fact that we didn't have a staffing background. Franchises, they give you a recipe for quote-unquote success. And the staffing franchise that we purchased is called Select Family of Staffing Companies, and we're the franchise division Remedy under it. They've been really wonderful. They're based in Santa Barbara, California, but they've been out to see us since we launched about 8 times already, just providing support, guidance. It's in their best interest for us to succeed, obviously, but they've been pretty wonderful with us. So.
Well, I think that's an important point, because I think that there are a lot of people out there that have this entrepreneurial itch, but they really don't know where to go or what to do with it. And, of course, it's funny because people always ask me, why do most businesses fail? And I think the number one reason is knowledge. Most people think it's money, but it's not money. It's knowledge, because they don't have the experience, in any field that they go into, and they fail. So it's great that you decided, you took an assessment of things and realized that franchising was best for you.
Absolutely.
And it's working out for you. Now, you also work with your husband.
Yes.
And that's unique. Okay, how's that going?
It's interesting because we wondered how that would go. Because, like I said, I originally did it because I didn't have that balance. I was working in corporate America, and at the time, he was staying home with our son.
Oh, okay.
And we went from never seeing each other because I worked days, leave at 6 o'clock in the morning, come home at 9, 10 o'clock at night. And by that time, he worked nights. So he was working at a local restaurant. So we never saw each other except on the weekend. So we went from this complete extreme of never seeing each other to being literally back to back in a little office all day long. And so far, it's been great. It's actually fun.
And you've survived.
Yes. I feel bad for our sales rep. He shares the office with us, so he's the nice buffer. So we keep it civil with him.
Well, I'll tell you, it takes a very unique marriage to be able to do that back to back. There's no doubt about that. So staffing, let's talk about that a little. Tell us specifically what you do.
So we have 2 types of clients. We have the employer that has some type of hiring need, whether they're experiencing turnover, they're expecting a huge project, or they have a very high-profile position they need filled. That's one client. The other clients are the individuals that are looking for a placement at a company, whether it's a temporary need, whether they're looking for a career. So we balance both. We're trying to help both, and we're like that matchmaker to bring them both together. Right. So like I mentioned, I have a sales rep, and he's out there meeting local businesses, and not just local businesses. We were focused on that, but then also we have a lot of national accounts because we're a franchise. Okay. So try to develop those and penetrate those in the tri-state area. And then the in-house staff with the recruiters, there are 4 of us that are trying to recruit and get the people to match the employers that he is bringing in.
Okay. All right. So let's drill down into this a little bit. You have this franchise concept, and they basically, how long has the company been in business, Remedy?
Since 1965.
Oh, wow. Okay, so they've been around a long time. Offices in every state?
Yes. We were the first in Jersey, and then
really?
another couple opened up in Cranford about 7 months ago, actually.
Oh, really? Okay, so they're fairly new to New Jersey then.
Yes, the Remedy brand is. The corporate brand has been around, but the franchise offices, there's only about 98 in the U.S. But Remedy Select Staffing Corporate has about 400 offices.
Yeah, I thought they'd been around a long time because I think one of my firms used them years ago up in North Jersey. So.
Select has been, they're number 9. They're the 9th largest staffing agency in the U.S. Okay. But they're trying to branch out their franchise division.
Right. Okay. So when we talk about staffing, are we talking about mostly full-time, mostly temp, a mix of both?
We do it all. We do the temporary, the temp to hire, and the direct hires. Mm-hmm. But the bulk of my business at the moment, maybe it's just a sign of the times, that people are taking on these temporary staffs, and it's almost that concept of they're not it's that non-committal.
Right.
It's almost like that dating. They want to try them on for 3 months because after 3 months, people change. The true colors start coming out. So I hate using this, but this is almost what someone said. It's almost a try before you buy. They see if it's a right fit, because sometimes it's not about what's on a resume. It's does that person fit into the culture of your office or your warehouse or whatever it may be.
Right. Well, the title of our show is Staffing, the Right Fit.
Right, exactly.
So we're going to find out today from you how to get that right fit going. I also want to talk to you more about temp to perm, permanent placement, and all that, because I think a lot of people may not understand all those differences and what's available to them in a business. I know old school, you put an ad in the paper and now Craigslist, and people come, you interview, and you hire or you don't, right? But there's actually other options, and that's what Remedy's all about. Great. Well, we're going to talk more about that in a few minutes, Sylvia. I want to thank you again for coming out this morning. I know Saturdays are probably precious to you with family time and all that, especially with a baby. How old's the baby?
He's 5.
Okay. Quickly becoming not a baby, right?
I think I'll always call him a baby.
Yeah, there you go. Until you have your next one, then that'll be your baby.
Yeah, true.
So I want to thank you for taking some time out today and joining us. We're going to have a fun day. You're listening to Tandem Radio Live. This is the Good News on Business, and we're here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And no matter where you happen to be, you can tune in to us, whether it's on the iPhone or Droid app through the Bridge FM network, or through our website, tandemradio.com. If you haven't checked that out yet, you really need to get there, tandemradio.com. There's so much information there. There's archived shows. There's what's coming up in the future. There's links to our network group. There's links to a lot of things we're going on. We have Tandem Network. We have Tandem Ask Tandem. We have Tandem Radio. We just have so much happening out there, and it's all about business and helping you with your business. But, of course, the goal is to show you where God can interact with you on a day-to-day basis and help you in your business. That's what Tandem Radio is all about. That's why we call it the Good News on Business. Hey, drop us a line either on Facebook at Tandem Radio on Facebook. Just type it in and you'll get us. Or info@tandemradio.com. info@tandemradio.com. We'd love to hear from you. Send us your questions or comments about business, and we'll do our best to get you some direction. Maybe connect you with one of the people we know, or give you some insights or advice. But one thing we guarantee you, we'll at least pray for your business and for your circumstance, and we know that God answers prayer and will come through to help you with your situation. So stay tuned. We have a lot more here with Sylvia talking about staffing the right fit.
2, 1, cut. Hi, my name is Cooper Ford from Tandem Radio, the Good News on Business. I want to thank you for joining us for this episode. Hopefully you've been getting some fantastic insights from Glenn and our featured guest. While we're taking this break, I want to introduce you to our website at tandemradio.com, where there's a wealth of information focusing on bringing Christian principles into the business world. First of all, we have some of our other archive shows that are on there where you can see some of our past guests and listen to their shows. Second, we also have Ask Tandem, which is our shorter video segments focusing on specific questions related to faith and the workplace. And finally, we have our sponsors, like-minded businesses and professionals who not only share our mission, but also who want to serve you. So check it all out at tandemradio.com. If you want to get in touch with us, you can also email us at info@tandemradio.com. That's info@tandemradio.com. And we look forward to hearing from you. So thanks again for joining us, and let's get back to Glenn and the show. God bless.
Well, welcome back to Tandem Radio Live. This is your host, Glen Dalakian, and we're here today with Silvia Caravella, who's the owner and president of Remedy Intelligent Staffing. And she's here to share with us about a concept that I think is so important, and that is employment in your business. Staffing, the right fit, is the theme of the show today, and the right fit is so important. It's funny, it's kind of, I know there's that old adage that, when's the best day in a boat owner's life? The day he gets the boat. What's the second best day in the boat owner's life? The day he sells it, and it can be like that with employees. I know, sometimes the best day, and then there's no high like hiring an employee, but when you have to let them go, boy, it's the other extreme. And sometimes you're glad to see them go, but that I think has a lot to do with finding the right fit. And I think that's why this theme came to mind for me with you, Sylvia, because I know you help people do that. So let's talk about that, finding the right fit. Let's start off first with the categories, all right? You mentioned before temps and perms and temp to perm and so forth. Let's talk about it. What's the difference? Why does a company come to you and say, I need a temp?
For the most part, it used to be that people just use temps for someone is going to be out sick for a while, someone's going on maternity leave, or they have a special project. We've seen a change in that now people are looking to temps, especially in these times, because they're a little gun-shy about making the commitment of hiring staff and then turning the economy and that heartbreaking process of having to let go of these wonderful, hardworking individuals. So now, given the times, it's almost that we're seeing the market is full of these qualified, professional people that employers now have access to at perhaps a fraction of the cost of what they would have had to have before, because these individuals are now looking to temporary staffing to kind of bridge the gap to their next professional placement. So it's no longer that whole quote-unquote temps would be for more of that clerical, office support staff. Now people are using temporary staffing for these professional, highly specialized roles.
Interesting. Now, is it a different person, the temp? I mean, are there some people that come in and say, look, I only want to be a temp, or are there a lot of people come to you, look, I'll take anything because I'm looking for permanent?
Both. There's some people that because of their situations in their life, they need to have this flexibility, and temporary staffing is the best fit for them. And they're lifers in the temp world. That's all they ever want to be.
Okay.
And then you have the individuals that because they've lost their job, they need to generate income, and they know the quality of their work, and they just want their foot back in the door, just that foot back in, and they know that they will prove themselves and eventually become a part of the client staff. And it does happen. We've seen that.
Now, how does that work? Somebody works for on a temp basis. Is the employee on your payroll, or is it on the company's payroll?
Yes, that's the beauty of the temp process for the employer, is that we do everything for them. Okay. They just tell me what they need, and we assess that. We go on site, kind of do a benchmark of what we're recruiting towards, and then we do the advertising, we do the whole interview process. It's very time consuming.
Right.
And then we take care of the rest. We're also the employer. We're the ones that process their payroll.
Okay.
We take on unemployment insurance or workers' comp. It all falls under us.
So basically, the company pays you an hourly rate, and that's it, and then you take care of the employee.
Exactly.
Where's the liability lie on that?
That's on us.
Okay.
Everything. Right. That's why we have a very comprehensive screening process.
Right. I want to talk about the screening in a minute. Now, with the temp to perm, all right, as a small business owner, I've always had a struggle with the fees involved in that. How does that work, right? I mean, you have a temp, and let's say they're working out, and 3 months later you go, I want to hire this person. How does that work? How does it go temp to perm?
Sure. Well, we have contracts with our clients, and we work out the hours, so we could say, listen, after 520 hours, if you like them, you can convert them at a zero fee. Traditionally, it's 720 hours. You can convert them then at a 15% fee. It goes into all these things where, for us right now, we're just very excited to make any placement, to have any person be given that opportunity. So we'll waive that, and after 520, some clients had us after 300 hours, they get to convert them for zero. And that's fine. Because what we've seen happen, too, is the people that we place at these client positions eventually become supervisors and managers. It's already happened for us.
Right.
And they're our biggest advocates. So anytime they have additional needs in their department, they're recommending us.
That makes sense.
That's been the most wonderful. All referrals are great, but the best referrals for us are the ones that come from the people that we place at those jobs.
Right, sure. And do people come to your agency specifically saying, look, I'm looking for work, or is it mostly you're advertising and then they're coming?
We found, at first we thought, we're going to have so many walk-ins, and that's not the case. It's been through our advertising.
Right.
And when the applicant flow is low, it's because our ads are not that, we need to put our things back on Craigslist, or we need to put our things back on Career Builder, because they expire after some time.
Right.
So it's what the most challenging part for me at times is that we have the jobs and I don't have enough people walking in through the door. Because like you said, Craigslist, that's the bulk of our applicants. Yet there's some really great people that don't trust Craigslist.
Right.
So we've now decided to do more job fairs. So, so far we've done 3.
Okay. Now, so would I be safe to say then, if somebody's sitting out there right now listening and they don't have a job and they're sending out resumes, they should call some staffing companies like you?
Absolutely. And not only that, I tell anyone who walks through my door, I say, don't just use me, use 3 of me. Give yourself the most leverage. I'm not afraid to tell people that, because just because I don't have that contract today doesn't mean somebody else doesn't have it. And when that position may expire, I might have something better for them. So we really like to, develop that relationship, not just with the employers and the clients, but more importantly with the associates, have that rapport with them. And I tell them, use 2 or 3. But staffing agencies are really the way to go for them to get themselves the most leverage to find a job.
So it's literally a two-sided coin. I mean, if there's people out there that are unemployed, they don't know to come to you, so now we're giving them an inside tip, right? They should come to a staffing company and say, hey, here's my resume. If you ever need me, right, reach out to me. And then, of course, there's the other side. If an employer has a gap in his staffing, he's got to come to you and say, hey, what resources do you have?
Right.
Cool,
Absolutely.
cool. And let's talk about, maybe you can give us an inside tip on this. Craigslist, I think you already gave it to us, though. You said that's really the most impactful for you?
We did a poll of all the applications, and 90% of our applicants have come from Craigslist.
Really? Wow. So I guess I'm on track when I need help. If I don't call you, I should call Craigslist.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. And you're doing a lot of job fairs, too? How's that going?
We've started it. The most recent one we did was just last week at the Jacob Javits Center.
Oh, okay.
And it was, I have to say, it was depressing.
Really? Why?
When the doors opened, you had people that had been waiting online since 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And these were professional people,
Really?
doctors, lawyers, people, senior people in the school districts in New York. And it's just really it was. I know we get that sometimes from a local level you have that limited perspective, and then you go out to the Jacob Javits Center and you see the thousands of people that are lined up just to get a resume in front of you.
Right. So when the government tells us we're on the upswing, they should go stand outside Jacob Javits Center in a job fair, huh?
It was yes. It was my husband and our sales rep, and we walked out of there. It was a little disheartening.
You're overwhelmed now.
But we're looking to help. I mean, we can't help all of them, but I'm sure if I can help a handful, I'll be very happy with that. Just one at a time. That's all you can do.
So tell us about job fair. All right, let's talk to the person who doesn't have a job right now. What is a job fair all about?
Basically, employers are there to recruit for their specific needs at the moment. And I think for some people, it depends on the companies that are there. Some companies, what I don't agree with, that sometimes at these job fairs you have companies that are just looking to hire for commission-only positions, and I think that's tough. Right. Because if people are waiting out, they need some type of salary. So commission only is disheartening for them.
Right.
So that's why at the moment we're not. We have a lot of employers that do approach us to do that commission only. It's not a good fit for our model and the people that we're helping find jobs.
Right. Okay. So these people, these job fairs, you're basically the guy with the booth. You're the vendor, I guess.
Exactly.
All right. And you pay for that booth, and then they open the doors. Do they charge the people coming into the job fair?
No.
Okay.
It's free to the people walking.
So people come in and they just walk the aisles till they see something of interest and they whip out a resume.
Exactly.
Are you doing interviews there also?
No, we're not. Okay. Because like I mentioned, we have a very comprehensive screening process, so we'll redirect them to make an appointment with us. But for example, at the Jacob Javits Center, it was like a bit of a mob scene. They were fighting to get the resume into our hands.
Really?
I've never experienced something like that. That was tough.
No kidding.
I couldn't even have a conversation. People are pushing each other to get the resume, to get their resume in front of us.
Really?
Yeah, it was a little surreal. We were just looking at each other like, wow, this is really happening.
So it's a real issue out there on the streets, and a lot of us, I think, a lot of times when somebody's employed, they almost become, numb to the fact that there are other people that are unemployed, and they don't realize how many people are out there that are really searching.
Absolutely.
So let's ask a direct question on this. Is unemployment really the number they're telling us, 9%, or you think it's a lot higher?
It's a lot higher.
All right, we'll come back and talk more about that later. You listen to Tandem Radio Live. This is Glen Dalakian, your host here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget, tandemradio.com is just a powerful resource, a place for you to get information that you need about your business. And there'll be a link there to Silvia and her business so that you can find out more about what they do and how they do it. And if you need staffing or you're looking for a job, either side of the coin here, good idea to contact a staffing company like Remedy and talk to somebody like Silvia who can help you. We have so much more to talk about in the next two segments, so stay tuned. You may want to get your pad and pen out. You're going to hear all kinds of little tips here that I'm going to get Silvia to tell us to help your business and to continue to keep you moving forward. Again, it's the Good News on Business, so we're all about sharing God's good news and what He wants to tell you about your business, because there's no better place to go for business advice, in my opinion, than on your knees, for sure, and ask the Lord how to direct you. We're here again every Saturday morning and just serving not only a regional audience, but a national audience, and we'd love to hear from you, wherever your questions may be coming from. So check us out on Facebook, Tandem Radio on Facebook, or at tandemradio.com. info@tandemradio.com is our email address, info@tandemradio.com. You send us an email, we'll check it out, we'll try to get some advice back to you. We'll certainly pray about your business and do our best to give you any insights we can to help you move forward. Maybe even read your questions on the air. Sometimes we get to that as well. But we do it all here at Tandem Radio. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this break. Well, welcome back to Tandem Radio. We're just excited to be the good news on business here, not only meaning about the Bible and the good news that God has for us, but also to give a good news perspective on business. I know when the economic crisis started to really hit several years back, people would say, oh, it's a down economy, what are we going to do? And I would say to them over and over again, I refuse to participate. So that's just my attitude about it. We're here to bring good news on business and in every aspect. And, of course, God's Bible is filled with good news on business. As a matter of fact, we pulled a few scriptures out that God put on my heart. 2 Chronicles 2:3, Solomon sent this message to Hiram, king of Tyre. And then we'll skip down to, send me therefore a man skilled to work in gold and silver, bronze and iron, and in purple, crimson, and blue yarn, and experience in the art of engraving, to work in Judah and Jerusalem with my skilled workers, whom my father David provided. As I mentioned before, I got a kick out of this because it looks like Hiram, the king of Tyre, was like one of the first placement agencies, because Solomon was reaching out to him for help. Romans 12:6. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. And I think we're going to touch on that with Silvia today, that how different people have different gifts, and you got to kind of find those out to be able to place them. And James 5:4, look, the wages you failed to pay the workers who mowed your fields are crying out against you. The cries of the harvester have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty. It's amazing, but God watches out for workers as well, and He doesn't like when you don't treat them well. That's for sure. That is in Scripture. I know that for sure. So be careful how you're treating other people, and especially your workers in general. We're going to talk about that in a second. Again, Silvia, I want to welcome you this morning. It's great to have you in here.
This is so much fun.
Let's talk more about the staffing process. Let's talk about your screening process. I know as an employer now, I've always done the hiring at my companies, because my companies tend to be smaller, so we're hiring one or two people at a time, and even that's overwhelming for me because it takes a lot out of your schedule, at least from a business owner's perspective, to sit. So I would do a lot of my interviews at 7:30 in the morning. I would do a lot of my interviews at 5:30, so that way it didn't cut into the bulk of my day or the meat of my day. But it's always tiring, and I would typically go through 25, 30 resumes before I found somebody that I thought was good. And the funny thing is, when I got resumes in, I'd probably go through 20 or 30 on the phone, or I'd go through 20 or 30 and then call only a handful of those, and out of those then see 10 or 15 people, and boy, it just goes an ongoing process. So the screening process to me was always very important. I felt the more you put in up front, the more you got out on the back end. So let's talk about that with Remedy, about your screening process. Tell us a little bit about how you do that.
Sure. So at Remedy, we have a 5-step screening process. And because the service that we sell to employers is that we're going to save them time and headache and heartache by doing this for them. So outside of the traditional application, we have a very long application. It's about 45 minutes to complete. After that, my team reviews, and everyone who submits an application gets a call. Okay. And they have an appointment set up to come in to the office. Once they arrive, they take an integrity survey. And this survey is 44 questions that 44 questions that test for undesirable traits, whether it's propensity to violence in the workplace, dishonesty, workers' comp fraud, current drug use, etc.
Let me just add, do you catch a lot of people on that?
What's crazy to me is that when I first saw those questions, my husband and I said, oh, one, this is insulting, and who's going to answer this?
Right.
I mean, it's so basic. It weeds out about 15 to 20% of the people
Really?
who walk in the door. I mean, you almost have to give people credit for being honest then, because they're admitting things.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we can't move forward if we get one caution on that.
Oh, well. It's funny you mentioned. I got to stop for a second because it brought a funny story to mind. I'll never forget. I interviewed a young girl years ago for an executive assistant position I needed, right? And I'll never forget, she came in, and she looked a little disheveled, and she was late for the appointment. And that would always drive me crazy, being late for the appointment, right? So at the end of the interview, I asked her, and I said, so let me ask you something. Are you often late for appointments, right? And she looks at me, and she says, I'm always late. I was like, excuse me? Now, at first I thought she was joking. She says, yeah.
She's honest.
Yeah, she says, yeah, I'm always late. She says, matter of fact, if you tell me I need to be in at 8 o'clock, you got to give me a little grace period because I'll usually be here about 8:10, 8:15. I said, well, why is that? And she says, I says, why is that? And she says, well, it's just the way I am. I said, well, why don't you just set your watch ahead 15 minutes and you'll be on everybody else's schedule? She goes, oh, I don't wear a watch.
Oh, my goodness.
I'll never forget, she told me that. I was like, okay. And she walked out. She goes, so should I call you? I said, no, I'll call you. And I was like, she really expected to get hired after telling me that,
Well, that's the craziest thing, that we see that every day. Every day. And maybe there's that lack of awareness. I'm not
wonder,
sure.
Right? You wonder.
Yes,
Right.
It's a head scratcher at times.
I didn't mean to take you off track.
No,
but,
that's
right,
fine,
so,
because that's the same thing. We thought, no, there's no way. Everyone will fly. How is this going to ever catch someone?
Right.
15 to 20%.
Wow.
It screens out.
Okay, so go ahead.
So if they get through that portion, then
I want to see that, by the way. I'd like to see some of the questions on it.
sure. And then because we're the employer, we handle all the workers' comp, so we're very big on safety, having people have that safety awareness. So they watch a safety video. It's a 20-minute safety video, and then they take a 30-question quiz. If they get more than 3 wrong, we're not allowed to move forward with them. However, if I determine that there might be a communication issue, or I'll let them watch it and take it again. If they get through that level, then they sit down with us for the behavioral interview. It's more of those standard questions it's not those standard questions, it's more along the lines of, we feel that someone's behavior in a certain situation is the best indicator of how they'll react if they come across that situation again. So we ask for the examples and ask these open-ended questions, and you'd be surprised how much people talk, and you really can extract a lot from it.
Right.
That's really what we use for that right fit. Once we make it to the interview portion, we've pretty much determined, okay, this person is someone that is placeable. But depending on that interview, it's, okay, but where would they best fit?
Right.
And then on the back end, once we have everyone go through that process, we try to qualify where we think that, what type of environment do we think that they would be most successful.
Okay.
And then we try to pair that up to what the openings that we have with our clients.
Okay. So you go through this rigorous, series of qualifications, which I think is very critical, and I'm sure it's appreciated by the employers, with obviously the end goal of being able to have somebody you can place. What would you say percentage-wise make it through all 5 steps?
We always say if we're recruiting for, I'd say 50%.
Okay, so half the people don't make it.
Pretty much.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Because for a business owner, I would expect it to be higher.
And
but
sometimes it's less.
yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's less. Some days we have great days,
Right.
and some days no one makes it through. I mean, it's you just can't predict those things.
So let's talk about 2 things in an interview process, all right? Because I think, again, from both sides of the perspective, I'm talking to business owners today, and I'm talking to people who are looking for work, right? So let's talk about this. First off, attire. Number 1 is, what's your thoughts on it? And the other part of that question is going to be, has it changed? Go ahead.
For me, it hasn't changed. I'm of that old school mindset. No matter what job you're going for, you always have to dress for the job that you want, not the one that you have type thing. So always dress to impress. I always say, for me, a suit, tie, it's critical. Yeah, I have. It's interesting because I have, people who, recent college grads, and maybe because they don't have someone telling them these things, they'll walk in flip-flops and a crumpled up resume.
Right.
And, I spoke at a local high school a couple of months ago, and that's what I was trying to stress to someone. You never know who you're going to meet or what opportunities lie there.
Right.
And someone doesn't know you, and within 17 seconds, they're forming an opinion of you. So you don't have a lot to say in 17 seconds, so it's going to naturally be on how you're presenting yourself, your attire.
Right.
Are you well groomed? It's the little things that I think people take for granted now, and I see that be a problem, even for warehouse positions. I mean, we have some warehouse managers that are appalled if somebody walks in shorts. They still want that respect. They still want someone to show that they're respecting the process type thing.
Right. The funny thing is with our audience, Saturday's the only day I don't shave, so I come in here pretty scruffy into the studio, but our audience gets to see me like this, and it's kind of funny because I'm not like this most of the week. So this is an interesting topic to talk about on our show. But, attire, I think, does play a huge role. And like you said, I think the statistic was that 85% of someone's opinion of you is formed in the first 17 seconds. And it's amazing how many people are so visual. So with that in mind, why would you come to an interview with the shortcomings? And I've been shocked sometimes how people come. I'm sure you have too. How people come dressed to an interview. Right, exactly. Yeah, and it's funny because I always tell people, we get these women sometimes coming in club attire, and it's like they almost fall over their 8-inch stilettos when they walk in. It's like, what position did you come in for again? It's like, you don't have to get on my desk for this position. It's like crazy. It's crazy. What about behavior? Do you see idiosyncrasies that people bring to the table that they could really do something about?
Sure. I have some people that sit there and they literally have like their elbows and they're bored or they yawn. I mean, I might not be the most interesting person in the world, but okay, hold it in. Do your best, for goodness sakes. The eye contact. It's the little things that are so crucial. It's the nonverbals. Right. The eye contact. The handshake. Sometimes they leave me there with my hand out. I'm like, handshake. And I do tell them sometimes when they're going through the interview, because I see that sometimes it's people that just need that coaching. Hey, look them in the eye. Handshake. Go get some nice copies of your resume. Go in with a portfolio. Just like little things that I know are things that for me personally strike me as odd if someone doesn't come in with that approach. Right. So I try to guide and make sure that you have that same approach when it comes to performing.
It's funny. My father always used to teach me common sense is not that common, And a lot of times people come in and they just don't know. Well, thank you. And believe it or not, we're now in the last segment coming up. So you're listening to Silvia from Remedy today and talking about staffing. And the concept of the show today is staffing the right fit. And God wants you to find the right fit for your staff as well in every other aspect of your business. So I'm glad you tuned in for Good News on Business today here at Tandem Radio. And I'm Glen Dalakian, your host, here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have some new stuff coming up and new shows coming on. We have a new network group that you're going to want to be a part of, Tandem Path Network. And don't forget, Ask Tandem. It's a great video program. It's out on YouTube. You can check it out on Facebook or go out on YouTube and type in Ask Tandem. Just some powerful stuff there. So stay tuned. We got a lot more for you right after these words. Well, welcome back. We're into the last segment of Tandem Radio Live for today, and our topic today is staffing the right fit. And we're sitting with Silvia Caravella, who's the owner and president of Remedy Intelligent Staffing here in New Jersey, and we're just excited to have her in and talking about two sides of the coin, staffing not only for employers and for businesses, but also from the perspective of new hires and people who are looking for work. But let's just go back to God's scriptures today. He gave us 3 today, and the one from Chronicles about Hiram, the king of Tyre, where Solomon sent them a message. Send me therefore a man skilled to work in gold and silver, bronze and iron, and in purple, crimson, and blue yarn, and experienced in the art of engraving to work in Judah and Jerusalem with my skilled workers. Now here he is. Solomon put it out in a very specific order to a staffing colleague, the king of Tyre, who sent them help. Romans 12:6. And I think this is so important, and we touched on this in the last segment. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. Each person has different abilities, skills, gifts, and as employers, we need to seek those out. And the ones that are obviously God-given gifts, boy, we can really key on those and know those are going to be strengths in our employees. And James 5:4. Look, the wages you failed to pay the workers who mowed your fields are crying out against you. The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty. Employers, it's so important. I can't express it enough. If you don't treat your employees right, they're not going to treat you right. And I got to tell you something. As an employer who's owned multiple businesses over the years, yes, there were times I got taken advantage of. But I'd rather be known as a generous employer who does the right things and got burned a few times than a guy who's always looking to burn somebody else. So, keep that in mind, that integrity is important there, and God is watching. He wants you to take care of your employees and take care of them well. Sylvia, let's continue on about staffing. Let's first off back up for a second, and I know you're a believer. I know that God's important to you in your life. How does your faith impact your business every day?
Well, I'd start off by saying that had it not been for my faith, we would not even have done this business. I would still be sitting there in corporate America doing something where I felt every day I had to compromise a little bit of myself to be able to do it successfully. It was my faith and that my faith in God, knowing that I could leave this all behind, and from a financial perspective, have those challenges. But if I know that I'm going to do something that's legitimately doing the right thing, and you're just going to do right by others, things are going to be okay. And everyone said we were crazy. Our family, our CPA, just thought we were nuts for doing this. But I've never been happier. I mean, and that's a big statement to make, but it's true.
Sure.
It's not without its challenges. It is very challenging, but I've never been happier, and I feel I have perspective again, and it's because it was many conversations all day long, just praying to myself, to God that I get put on the path that I need to be, and I feel I'm there.
And did you feel God tugging on your heart about this?
Oh, absolutely. It was almost that I felt that it was that. You're a little late, Sylvia. I've been kind of on you on this for a while.
Come on, Sylvia.
Well, better late than never.
That's it. Better late than never. I'm glad to hear that, and I'm glad that you spend time in prayer seeking His will, because that's what we encourage people to do here, to get there with God, get the relationship right, and He'll guide you. He'll guide you. He wants to guide you in every aspect of your life, not just your personal life, but your business life as well. So let's get back to talking about your business. How has social media impacted your business? Has that made a big change?
Sure. It's so funny because while I was at my, in corporate America, I actually got off Facebook. I used to use Facebook just to sit on the train and just have that mindless, just to zone out type thing. And then I thought I was spending so much time because it was spilling over into my personal time. Now I'm home late at night, and now I'm still on Facebook. So I deactivated my account. When we started our business, everyone's like, you need to be on Facebook, and not only be on Facebook, you need a Facebook fan page, and you need to be on Twitter and LinkedIn, and they were right. They were right. I haven't embraced Twitter. It still scares me. But Facebook, it's, through our business, we've developed a nice network of people and local business owners, and it's been wonderful meeting all these individuals, inspiring people, yourself as well. So, and through Facebook, it's allowed us to develop those relationships and develop that rapport. So it's created a brand awareness for us in our market, but it's also getting us people who have friends of friends of friends who are looking for work. So honestly, nowadays it is so important. It's how you're relevant, and employers also use it now. Just a tidbit. They research it. They check your LinkedIn profile. They check your Facebook profile, because that's how they're forming their opinion of you. So it's not just now those 17 seconds. It's that 30 minutes that they're spending looking at what your profile picture is and trying determining that whatever that picture is the type of person that you are.
That's right.
So I tell a lot of people either create an alias or really censor what you have, because it's a different world now in regards to how people are getting to know you.
Yeah, I typically, just so people, our audience knows, as a small business employer, and we've been hiring regularly over the past year, I don't interview with anybody unless I take a look at their Facebook and LinkedIn first. I'm not asking for their password or anything, but I just want to see, like you said, what's the picture on there? I mean, sometimes people put some questionable stuff on there. Somebody said they're holding up a beer and with a bunch of friends. I'm like, I don't know if I want to hire that person. But, so that is important. And again, from both sides of the perspective, it's really important. Let's talk about some of the unique career placements you've had. Were there some really, odd jobs, maybe you could call it, or unique jobs that you had to place for?
I wouldn't say odd. I would say different to me. When we first opened our business, because our comfort zone is more the professional corporate world, I figured that's naturally where our business would go. However, we're seeing that there's a big need and demand on the light industrial side. So it's been very different for me where I'm going into an industrial bakery that makes rolls, or I'm going into the logistics company that has the forklifts, and I'm being exposed to a whole different world. Right. So it's different for me. So to me, it's unique because it's something that I've never been a part of, but it's so much fun. It's so exciting, and some of those have been some of our best clients. I mean, one of our clients now, they gave us an order, and we're going probably on, 60 people with them there for this project that they have coming up.
Oh, wow.
So, again, it's a very different, that's what I love. Every day in staff, and we always say we could be a reality show. There's always something different going on. Every single day is different.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the goal is always the same. We're helping two sides, an employer who has a need, and we're getting someone, their livelihood, their job.
Right.
It's interesting.
Okay, yeah. So, I'm sure there's a lot of interesting jobs there. I always get a kick out of hearing some things that people do, that are very, very unique. What about your largest placement? What would you say was your largest single placement? Was there a time when somebody came up and said, "I need 1,000 employees"? I mean, whatever. I'm just throwing it out of you.
Oh, please let that time come. And right now, there's that one client that we're coming about. Getting 60 people there is big. However, there's another client that we've been working with that we have about 20 people there, but they're purchasing another huge company. And so there might be 200 people there that will be transitioned to us because they don't want to hire anyone on their books. Okay. Everything is done through an agency like ours. So that's a potential. It could be something very wonderful for us, and then we'll get to manage. And then in those situations, it becomes differently where we actually would set up a subset of our business with them because it's so big and you're managing such a large staff that we actually have to have a presence on their site. So that could be something that's great.
What's on the horizon for staffing? Do you see some big change coming up? I mean, we got a minute, real quick. Do you see something like on the horizon that's going to have a big impact on your staffing business?
No, I just think that everything is a challenge right now with the whole unemployment. I will say that there's jobs out there, but if employers are not willing to pay a little more, people are going to stay home and collect the unemployment check. I hear that from people every single day. So the jobs are out there, but the employers have to be willing now to compensate for that extra unemployment that was just extended.
Right.
So it's a big news.
I'm going to spare you, but I'm dying to ask you what you think of the extension of the unemployment. But I won't ask you that. We'll go with that as it is because okay. So we'll leave that alone. We don't have time to get off on our political soapbox. Hey, Silvia, I want to thank you so much for coming in. We're actually through the last segment already.
Thank you so much. This was really a wonderful experience. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's good to have you. Feel free to reach out for Silvia. Silvia, what's your website?
We just have our new website, www.remedystaffnj.com.
Again?
www.remedystaffnj.com.
That's great. And we're going to have a link to that website at tandemradio.com. So feel free to check out tandemradio.com. A wonderful resource there, by the way. Plenty of information and a link to Silvia and her business if you want to know more. And, of course, Tandem Radio is on Facebook, so get on the Tandem Radio Facebook page, like us, let us know how you're doing, and we'll let you know how we're doing, and we'll do our best to help you in every respect. Thank you again to our team today, Lucas and Allie, who were in this morning. Thank you for Silvia for coming in today, and we will see you again next Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the Bridge FM Radio, or if you're listening to us on the app on the Droid or the iPhone, or maybe you're just listening on the Internet. God bless you. We wish you well. We want you to know the good news about business and know that God loves you and your business. Have a blessed week, and we'll see you soon.
You've been listening to The Good News on Business, a Tandem Radio live broadcast heard here on the Bridge FM Radio Network and streaming at tandemradio.com. Don't forget to join us every Saturday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, and call us and email us with your questions, because we'd love to hear from you. You can also visit our website for the latest blogs from Peter and Glenn, along with other information about upcoming guests, events, and business opportunities. I'm Kevin Reeves, and from everyone at Tandem Radio, we hope that you have a blessed week, and remember, walk with the Lord every day, in every way.